smell of blown out birthday candles, the sound of your loved ones singing happy birthday, and a bundle of gifts covered in bright, shiny packages. You can feel the palpable excitement in the atmosphere as you turn 10 years old and eagerly look at the colorful gifts. I vividly recall pacing back and forth and waiting for a gift that at first glance seems like any ordinary poster. But it was actually a chart taller than 10-year-old Raina of the human skeleton. Growing up, I've always loved psychology and biology, especially learning about the intricacies and complexities of the human mind. Uh, I, I'm so sorry. I, I forgot my talk. Just kidding. It would be slightly ironic if I forgot my talk, since my talk itself is about memory and forgetting, two sides of the same coin. We have always considered our brains to be a repository of knowledge, an anthology of memories. So then, why do we forget when our brains were specifically designed to remember? To solve the mystery behind the paradoxical nature of our brains, first, let's do a small activity. Try to memorize the information displayed on the screen. This name and birth date is that of an absent-minded character from the renowned and my favorite book series, Harry Potter. His grandmother gifted him a rememberer, which basically is a ball that would turn red whenever the owner forgot something. Seems like a perfect solution, right? Unfortunately, while the ball did tell Neville when he forgot something, Neville almost always forgot what he forgot. Sadly, this is an everyday occurrence for many of us. We know we've forgotten something, but we just can't remember what. That's because when we first learn new information, we encode that in our brain through maybe seeing how something looks or even listening to a particular sound. Then that information goes to our short-term memory, which lasts up to 30 seconds. We can prolong this information by repeating it in our heads, a process known as rehearsal. So, if I ask you to say the name and the date that was previously on the screen, many of you might remember it because you kept repeating it in your heads. However, if you went longer than 30 seconds without repeating it, you might have forgotten it since it disappeared from your short-term memory. I have a terrible memory, but sometimes I can remember the most absurd and random things, but I still won't be able to remember important math formulas during my exams that I'd learned just the night before, or even the list of food items my mom told me to buy from the market. Sorry, Mom. That's because this information, the random information, somehow got transferred to my long-term memory. Our long-term memory is divided into explicit and implicit memories. Explicit memories are memories that are consciously recalled. They're memories of dates and facts, like learning that mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, or even memories of our personal past experiences, like what gifts you received on your 10th birthday. Whereas implicit memories are mostly unconscious. They're memories like learning how to ride a bike, or when you know not to touch that hot pan because you accidentally touched it when you were 5 years old and burnt yourself badly. But more often than we'd like, we all forget, especially the explicit memories and especially when we need them the most. So why does that happen? And more importantly, how do we master the forgotten art of remembering efficiently? Scientifically speaking, when we first form memories, there's a connection formed between the neurons in our brains. Our memories are stored in between these connections. Consider your neurons to be two buildings and the gap between them a road. The more often you walk on this road, the easier it is for you to remember the route. Similarly, the more often you recall information, the stronger the connection between your neurons, and the easier it is for you to remember it in the future. However, if you went for a long time without walking on this road, you might face difficulty in remembering it. Similarly, the connection between your neurons will weaken if you haven't recalled information regularly. Moreover, I'm sure many of you noticed the name and the birthday that was previously on the screen, but you might have not noticed the yellow stars drawn on the corners. That's because when you fail to notice information, you fail to encode it, and thus don't remember it. Additionally, we all know the well-known tip of the tongue phenomenon. When you know that actress in that movie has a blonde hair and hazel eyes and she is relatively short, but you just can't remember her name. Or when you're trying to remember your new password, but you keep remembering your old one. This is known as retrieval failure. There are multiple ways to combat memory loss, but I'm here to talk about the lesser known ones. 1. Emotional significance. Connecting an emotional significance to a memory makes it more meaningful to you. Our brains are wired to remember more emotional memories. My favorite aunt was born in the year 1980, so I can associate that with Neville's year of birth, which is also 1980. 2. Retrieval cues. We all know that familiar feeling when listening to a particular song opens a box of nostalgic memories, and we get transported back to our childhood days. This is a retrieval cue. It is a prompt that can be associated with a memory. So, the next time you want to remember an acquaintance's name, you can use a retrieval cue of a visual image or even a place and save yourself from some major embarrassment. Neville was born on 30th July, which is also International Friendship Day. So we can use a friendship band as a retrieval cue. 3. The last one, I promise. Stories. A study conducted found that people remembered 65% of the information after listening to a story just once, compared to remembering only 10% of the information after listening to a bunch of boring facts. So, we can assume that Neville had long hair and liked to wear bell bottoms. Long bottom, his surname. Our memories are our stories. But they're not just a piece of recording we can press play on. They're pieces of a puzzle that have to be reconstructed together every time you want to remember something. They're not just a bridge between our past and the present, but also a key to our future. That is because when we imagine and plan approaching events, we heavily rely on our earlier experiences. These reminders of the past are our framework for the future. Hank Green once said, our memories may haunt us or they may sustain us, but either way, they define us. Without them, we are left to wander alone in the dark. Thank you.